Good afternoon, everyone. Bill Phillips from Prince George Daily News here with our PG Talks panel. We've been away for a couple of weeks doing all kinds of fun stuff, but mostly we've just been away. But we're back and there's lots going on. I'm joined today by our regular panelists, Chuck Nisbett, Todd Corrigal, Tracy Calogheros, and Mackenzie Kerr. Let's start with some of the most recent stuff. We've got all kinds of things, budgets, travel restrictions, but the most recent news, of course, is south of the border is the guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial in the killing of George Floyd. I think for most people who saw the video of Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for 9 minutes or whatever it was, and basically choking him to death. This verdict isn't a surprise to anyone, but let's start with Chuck. What did you think of the verdict, and where is this going to take us?
Well, I think I watched it. I watched the video, and it's 9 minutes and 29 seconds of him kneeling on his neck. And I can't say that there was any surprise in the verdict. And I don't see how they could have gone any other way. If they had gone to a hung jury or the verdict hadn't gone through, I think the US would be in turmoil today. Yeah. So it had to go that way just to stop all the problems that had began with this whole, with the George Floyd killing. It definitely was the right thing, in my view, but I also think it was the only thing they could do to try and pull the country back together again. You know, there's a lot riding on this, and it's going to be interesting to see how sentencing goes. It's not going to be for a couple of months, they say, but I'd expect that there's going to be a lessening of Black tension down in the States, racial tensions, as far as groups getting together and protesting against police and et cetera. But, you know, every day there's more and more problems with shootings, et cetera. So as long as everything stays status quo and nobody does anything strange and weird again, it's a good sign, you know. But it's a pity that it had to go this far to have this happen and have to go through this whole process before you get some change in the States.
For those watching may notice we just lost Todd Corrigal just as Chuck was starting to talk. They're moving over to fiber optic at the chamber office, so right now their internet's a little spotty. So we hope that Todd can rejoin us in a minute or two, and his IT guys get things connected again. But let's go to Tracy for what are your thoughts on the guilty verdict delivered down the States, and what this bodes for, racial tensions south of the border.
Well, I was relieved to see the guilty verdict. I have to say I was a little surprised because it hasn't traditionally gone the way that it ought to have gone. There's no question that the man's guilty. The question really was the legal system. So kudos to the jury for coming back with the right verdict. And I, like Chuck, I'm interested to see what the sentencing looks like a couple of months down the road. That could really be where the story gets told. In terms of tensions, you know, it's a baby step. Yay, you did the right thing. It's not enough. It's certainly not over. I hope that there is some lessening of tensions and an ability to start to work towards amends. But I don't know that we're there yet. There's a lot of really hurt feelings and lives that have been destroyed. And I don't think a single appropriate verdict solves it.
Mackenzie, your take on the verdict?
I agree with Tracy wholeheartedly, and Chuck as well. I mean, this is just really great. You gave the correct verdict. You have video proof of a murder, and he's guilty. This is the beginning. This isn't a cause for celebration. This isn't justice. This is just the beginning. He didn't. And some people are saying like, oh, justice, he died so that we can have justice. This is great. And it's like, no, that's not the case. This is just the beginning. And he was murdered, and it was filmed, and it took months and months to get a guilty verdict in court when there was video proof. So it should have been much faster. It's great that we're there, but it's not fixed yet. There's a lot of work that we still need to do. And we're referring to across the border and south of us, but we have a lot of things like this happening in Canada as well. And so we need to be aware that we have police brutality, and we have, things like this happening in Canada, and we need to talk about it. And it's really uncomfortable, and people need to get uncomfortable, because that's how we make progress.
Yeah, Chuck, where do we go from here? This is obviously a verdict that a lot of people wanted to see, and it will sort of soothe tensions down the States a little bit, and up here. We see that up here. Somebody posted the original press release from the George Floyd killing, and it was very eerily similar to the original press release from the Robert Jasansky killing here in this country. And so I guess part of the question is, in this day and age, how vital is or are cell phone footage? I guess you really wonder whether, if that had not been filmed, whether there would have been a trial at all.
Well, that's pretty much the thing. If there hadn't been video evidence, this never would have gone to trial. He would have walked away from this. But there was no way they could ignore it because of that evidence. Hard for me to say, being a photojournalist, but the cell phones and the prevalence of them has become very important to a lot of legal cases. And, it's just having that footage changed the whole outcome of everything. Without it, there wouldn't have been a file or a trial, but without it, there may not have been the outrage either. It would have been another one of those things that just slips under the radar, and nobody really pays any attention to it. But because of that footage, we knew what was going on, and people pushed for what was right. Now we just got to make sure that in every case, what's right is done, not just when you've got somebody sitting right next to it taking pictures for the 9.5 minutes. It's got to be automatic, and we're a long way away from that, I'm afraid. But it's a start, and with the right leadership and the right people, you can make that work. You can make that grow. And hopefully those people are in place down in the States to make things happen. With Jasansky here in Canada, did it make a difference? Not sure it really did here. I think for a while people were outraged at how he was treated and how many times he was tased, but I don't know if it had a lasting impact on the way things are done here. So maybe we've got a ways to go here too. Well, we definitely do. And I don't know how to make it more of an issue, more of a prominent issue here, but maybe just watching what's happening down in the States right now will give it that push, so that our police officers and legal forces are are thinking more about how things are done, and maybe not pushing the envelope of the amount of force used when making arrests. I mean, the thing is, when making arrests, use the least amount of force you can and make it happen, rather than the maximum amount of force you can to make it happen, you know? And I think that's the lesson that needs to be learned. When someone resists, try to use non-deadly force. That's what it's all about, you know? You're not out there to take out citizens, you're out there to protect them.
Yeah, because just like a week or so ago, you know, we had what's the Dante Wright, I think is the kid's name. That was the kid that was running down the alley. May or may not have had a gun, but he clearly turned around with his hands up and got killed anyways. Yeah, I don't know how much really has changed. And Tracy, I guess part of this is that with video, are body cams part of the answer for police?
Well, I can't see why you wouldn't want a body cam as a police officer. If you're doing your job appropriately, having that body cam protects you from unfounded accusations. So the only reason to not want to have a body cam is if you are choosing to do things that you're going to be embarrassed by or held accountable for down the road. Body cams aren't the only answer. The murder of George Floyd isn't the problem, it's a symptom of the problem. And that systemic racism that has oppressed entire populations for generations is the problem. That's what we need to get past. And if we're talking about moving forward from this point, it's about rebuilding trust. It's no different than Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. And I've often said that it's an act of bravery every time an Indigenous person shakes the hand of a non-Indigenous person or organization. And I think the same is exactly true in the US for the Black population and the non-Black population. Maybe this is a first step in starting to have a conversation and starting to build some trust. And if it takes cell phone video footage, well, they're all in high def and there's lots of cell phones out there. So I guess we have to keep recording because this definitely was at least the right verdict.
Mm-hmm. Mackenzie, it's how important is I guess, for lack of a better term, the national leadership down the states in these kind of issues? We see a very, very different tone from the White House following the verdict yesterday or Monday. You know, how does that really help, or does that make a difference when, you know, down there the president, and up here would be the prime minister, is very conciliatory and you know, and is obviously moved by all these events, which is a stark contrast to what we've seen 4 years ago, where, you know, it was fueled the other way.
I think it does have a very huge impact because it allows people to think that it's okay to, you know, be racist and things like that, that Trump was egging on, right? I mean, he called it the Chinese virus, and now we're seeing a spike in Asian hate. If you are a leader of a country and you are showing half the population that voted for you that it's okay to act like that, they feel, you know, more safe doing so. And I don't think that it's just the responsibility of the prime minister or the president, but every politician at every single level to make sure that they are showing a good example of what it is like to you know, be a responsible citizen in your area, and every single area, regardless of you know, level of politics, whether it's regional district directors, MPs, MLAs, mayor and council, prime minister, they all have a responsibility as an elected official to show constituents that it's not okay to be racist or whatever it may be, and that they should be taking a stance and standing up against it, because they have a huge influence, whether they like it or not, over the population, and they need to act accordingly. So I do think that it has a huge impact, but, you know, not just the top level officials, every level of politician has a huge responsibility to stand up against racism and police brutality and make sure that we can progress as a society.
Mm-hmm. Just switching topics a little bit, getting closer to home. It's been budget week here in here in Canada and BC. It's kind of back-to-back budgets. Monday is the federal budget and Tuesday was the provincial budget. Lots of spending, which I don't think surprised anyone given the pandemic. There needs to be lots of spending. But Chuck, let's go back to you. Your thoughts on the budgets. Too much spending, too little spending, just the right amount?
Well, given that I really don't know a whole bunch about the budget, I got to tell you that I've been, shall we say, two-wheel challenged for the last few days, and
no, Ryan Tracy's been out on an island. Nobody's paying attention anymore.
But I will say, I expected a lot of spending because of the COVID pandemic, and I don't really think it could go too much right now. Looking at what's happening elsewhere, as in India and some parts of Europe, with another variant of COVID coming through and another wave going through that seems to be devastating. I'm hoping it's enough spending to give us a buffer to get through this without losing so many businesses. It's going to be very, very hard, very, very tough on everybody. And from the look of what's coming, we've got a new wave that is going to be deadlier and more contagious than what we faced so far coming our way. So that's, as far as I know of the budget, that is what needed to be done. And yeah, hopefully it's enough.
Tracy, one of the big planks in the Liberal platform is finally moving to some sort of national child care daycare program, not immediately, but over time, and looking at $10 a day child care. Is this achievable? The Liberals, government in general, have been talking about this for decades. Is this A, the time to do this, and B, can this be done?
Well, men like to talk a lot about childcare and then not do anything about it once they've secured the votes necessary to get themselves back into their seats. But we do have a much more balanced electorate at this point, and the elected officials seem to finally recognize that childcare is every bit as important to an economic recovery as making sure that I can pay rent. So yeah, I think it's absolutely achievable. And I think that perhaps we have finally gotten to the point where the political will is there to actually solve this issue, because this isn't a woman issue. This is a society issue, and $10 a day out of your pocket is manageable. It will be very expensive, having operated a childcare facility and also having paid for kids to be in childcare many moons ago. It's going to be expensive, and the logistics are going to be interesting, and maybe we have to do it on a national scale rather than by province, sort of like long-term care. But yeah, I'm excited to see it in there, and I do think that it's important. The same as I'm glad to see the $15 minimum wage coming in federally, and that the provincial budget is protecting the minimum wage at $15.20 here in BC. Again, not easy, weird time to be in the midst of it, but the political will's there to do these things, and these are the pieces we need if we're going to build a fair and equitable society and deal with some of the other inequities that COVID has laid bare.
Mm-hmm. Mackenzie, another plank in the federal budget was emphasis on climate change and combating climate change. Your thoughts on some of the things they want to do, and like childcare, do you think, is this the time, and can they actually do what they are setting out to do?
I have a puppy upstairs, so I hear it whining sometimes. If you hear it, that's what it is. So it costs less money to act on climate change now than it would in the long run if we do not act on climate change. So yes, we definitely need to act now. There is no other option. We have to. It's not up for debate because it will cost us trillions of more dollars to act in the future compared to acting right now. It's something that we need to do. But in the platform, I was looking at Annamie Paul's response, the new leader of the Green Party, and some of her critiques were that the organizations and scientists that look into how much money we need to put into climate action, they're saying that the amount that they put in this budget is not actually enough right now. We need more money towards climate. So that was one of the critiques, is we need to take bolder action on climate change. We need a green recovery, and that was not a highlight in the budget. That was something that she saw lacking. And away from climate change as well, she saw lacking support for residential tenants and renters. So hoping that we can include that in the future. There was also not a universal basic income. So, you know, she said overall there was some great ideas in there, but we also need bolder action on climate change and a focus on a green recovery and well-being of citizens and health of citizens to help them with emergency COVID recovery right now, like rent, because it's ending in September, and there's going to be a lot of rent evictions when the when it ends, like when the ban on eviction ends in September. So we really need to make sure that people are supported with something like CERB or you know, continued support for tenants until then, because it's ending soon and it's dropping to $1,200 in July, she said. So from what it was, which I am not sure what it was, I think she was referring to the rental supports, but it's dropping down in July and then ending in September. So there's a lot of things that we need to make sure that we're continuing with COVID recovery support, because that's the biggest problem with facing people across the country right now. One of the biggest problems, but yeah.
Yeah, Mackenzie, I'll stay with you because I probably know what your reaction to this one is. But the Conservatives also unveiled their climate action plan, part of which involved some sort of an account where you could, you know, fill up your Hummer and get some credits on a solar panel or something like that. What are your thoughts on the credit plan for the Conservatives? There's more in their green plan than just that, but that's one that people are focusing on.
It stood out. Yeah, definitely. It definitely stands out when things like that are talked about, and you know, carbon credits or whatever on large expensive purchases that just benefit rich people. So we really need to focus on holding companies accountable. Yes, individuals need to take action, but that's not where the largest impact is coming from. This is coming from oil and gas industry and, you know, the largest emitters in the country. That's where we need to crack down on. But unfortunately, you know, those people are friends with the Conservatives, and so they won't really take real action on that. So we definitely need more Greens in office to hold large companies accountable for being the largest emitters.
And Tracy, the suggestion is that this is an election budget. It probably won't fail when it gets voted on shortly. But this is the budget that the Liberals want to run the next election on, which would probably be in the summer or fall. Do you think this is an election document, and we should treat it like an election document? It's nice, but you know.
Well, I mean, it is the budget. They've put it forward. They're going to be developing policies and programs all stemming out of that budget. Is it based on an election coming up? Probably. I would assume that there is an election coming. I can't imagine any of the other parties looking to trigger an election right now. And I don't really think the Liberals are in the mood for it either, quite frankly. So I suspect that this budget will go forward. We'll start to see how the programs and planning are going to feed into actually getting that money out the door. And then we'll see an election in the fall. I think it's all doable stuff. I think it's a good, solid base to move us through the next year. But if we've learned anything in the past year, don't count your chickens, because who the heck knows what happens tomorrow? As Chuck mentioned, there's new variants coming out, and none of this is anywhere close to over. So they have my sympathies for trying to put a budget forward right now. And I do like that the general consensus of the budget itself seems to be around helping Canadians and helping Canada not just get through this, but evolve as we get through this. I'm feeling okay about it. Whether they run an election on it or not, it's their business.
Chuck, your thoughts on a pending election and whether we will penalize politicians at the poll if it's held right now?
Well, the way this went with the budget right now, I think they may have got away with it. It may not come back to bite them. But there's going to be change. There's going to be a lot of change happening in the next few months. And it's whether we're going to have an election or not in the fall, I think is very, very much dependent, as Tracy said, on what happens with COVID. If it goes as I expect it's going to go, watching what's happening overseas, I don't think we're going to have an election this year. I think we're going to be hunkered down. And if you remember the first lockdowns of the COVID last year, welcome back. I think that's where we're going. And I think it's going to be much more intense. I see that happening everywhere across the country, not just in major centers. And I can see us really having to be locked down for a while this time. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be a pretty summer. I really don't. And yeah, me personally, I'm just going to spend a lot of time on my bike.
Aren't you a ray of sunshine there, Chuck?
It's a beautiful day. I'm enjoying the sun as I can.
Yes, it's been nice.
It's important to be a realist. And I do think that people have to be realistic, that we're not through this. And if you can get a vaccination, get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Third Avenue Pharmacy. I got my AstraZeneca on Friday, so I'm moving along. They were very good. I got it. I just walked in and I happened to be there at the right time. They said, "Come on in, we'll do you right now." So I didn't even have to make an appointment, which was really nice. And yeah, we'll just go from there. And everybody's getting more and more vaccinated all the time. So, but as Chuck mentioned, we're still in the middle, probably in the worst part of it yet. And the province has unveiled some pretty severe travel restrictions. Mackenzie, your thoughts on being told to stay inside your health authority and checkpoints at the Alberta border, although probably should have had those a long time ago, even before COVID, but anyways, that's just kidding. But those the measures that were brought in, it's pretty drastic, and maybe we should have been doing this months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that drastic. I think it's necessary. I mean, if we have people traveling for leisure and not for work, they're obviously going to carry COVID around the province, right? I mean, we saw over Easter long weekend, a lot of people traveled because the restrictions and the communication is so poor that John Horgan literally announced that they would have roadside checks one day. And then the next day they backtracked and they said, no, never mind. That was incorrect information. We're not going to have random checks and asking you where you're going all the time. It'll just be some certain checkpoints, coming from the island and things like that. So people panicked for a whole day because their communication strategy is so poor that he went up there without even knowing what they had come up with and said that they were going to be stopping everyone driving everywhere. And some people were, making it out worse than it was. Like, I don't even know if I can drive to work. And it's like, well, obviously, if you read the title, it says essential travel. So don't be trying to scare people. I saw some MLAs doing that from a certain party. And I was like, obviously not. You can read that it's for essential travel. You're fine. But, if people are in rural towns, this is just it disproportionately affects people that are living in rural areas because they have to travel longer distances. And, I don't really think that it's great that they can ask you, where you're going and things like that, because it can disproportionately affect Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I mean, we know that racial profiling is a thing. We don't need to deny that. It connects to our earlier conversation. So, you know, and John Horgan said, well, we'll make sure that they do it properly, and we'll be consulting with, you know, the BIPOC community to make sure that these roadside checks are done properly. Well, what does that mean? You know, like, we really need to be looking at this carefully. And I think that their communication strategy really needs to be beefed up, because if he's going on stage one day and then they have to backtrack the next, that's really bad. Like, that's not good at all. It confuses people, scares people, makes them not trust the government even more. So we really need a clear communication plan, and we need people all on the same page, understanding how bad this is, clear data transparency like the Green Party's been calling for. You know, we really need to increase our response, because we're seeing some mixed messaging, which is confusing people, and that's not good. But I think we do need the checkpoints, but, you know, we just need to also be aware that this can disproportionately affect certain groups of people, and certain groups of people are going to do it anyways that have the money to pay the fine. So, you know, this is really just affecting people that can't pay the fine, and the people that are wealthy will just pay the fine and not care. So, you know, we really need to be kind of diving into what the best solution is.
Mhm. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, Ontario Premier Doug Ford backed off right away on his plan to bring back essentially carding, and BC's plan wasn't that drastic. It's more like you know, counterattack check stops, they said. But still, Tracy, is that the right way to go? You know, all the check stops in the, you know, you can have all the check stops you want, but then you look at the 420 down at the beaches in Vancouver there, and there's people all over the place, you know, shoulder to shoulder, token up and blowing smoke in everybody else's face, and like, good grief. And people seem to be, you know, they're flaunting the rules. That turned into a bit of a freedom rally, and it's kind of like, that's not freedom, but anyways. Should we, and yet the police really don't do anything to those, I guess, because the crowds are too large. But is that where we should be cracking down, rather than, you know, on you know, a family of four with their camper coming in from Alberta?
Oh, that's a whole lot to unpack there.
Good. I can go for
I
coffee.
think, yeah, you can go for coffee now. Sure. I'm gonna go toke up, are you, Bill? Yeah, I don't know what the
Drug, yeah.
checks that are the best solution or not. I mean, hindsight's 2020. I wish we had locked down properly when we had the chance to stop this months and months and months and months ago. Now we're in a situation where there's wide community spread, and a lot of it's happening in homes now. So, I mean, the horse is out of the barn, but we have to try and flatten this out again. So I tend to agree with Chuck's assessment that we're going to wind up with a major lockdown, because partial isn't working, because people are not respecting the rules. I don't have a problem with people being stopped at the Alberta border, and your example of a, you know, young family with kids hauling their camper in from Alberta. Well, sorry, but this is not the year to do that. The more we're moving variants around, the more we are causing risk and harm to Canadians. And that family from Alberta isn't looking to hurt anybody in BC. They're just looking to get to a lake and spend some time with their kid outside. Problem is, if you're going to a campground, you're sharing bathrooms and showers, you're sharing dock space, you are going to have your pets playing on the same stretch of grass, the kids are going to be down on the same beach. You can't prevent the spread. I don't know. I mean, stopping for gas is one thing, but when you're talking about a young family, you've got to feed them, and you've got to stop when the kid needs to go pee. And it could be as simple as stepping into an outhouse after someone else had used it, and you're sharing germs. No, I think people need to stay put, and I think we need to be outside as much as we can be. And yeah, I wish we'd shut her down a whole lot earlier. At this point, the only solution I see is a complete shutdown again.
Yeah. Chuck, complete shutdown, that's where we got to go.
I really think that's the way to go. We did it before, we just didn't do it enough. And I think we really need to lock it down and just, you know, stop the borders, stop people from traveling around province even, and just stay home, mask up, only go out when you need to. If you're going to go to the store, go get what you need for as long as you can handle and go back home. Yeah, people are going to have to work. The people that can work from home, keep working from home. The people that aren't going to be able to work, this becomes the big problem. And this is where the budget comes in, right? This is where the big spend is going to be. And trying to keep businesses and positions available for people when this is all over. So I think we really do have to lock down for the long term and just try to hold it together, you know, and that's not going to be popular. I mean, I know a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people every day at work and around town that they're sick of it. They're totally sick of COVID. And I don't blame them. I'm sick of COVID too. But that's not going to make it go away. You know, we have to fight it to make it go away. And the best way we can fight it is by isolating ourselves and stopping its spread. And, you know, I would love to go camping and fishing. I'm an avid fly fisherman. And I didn't fish at all last year. And I really, really would love to this year. And I can't see going off to a lake or a river and, you know, wandering around and talking to other fishermen and camping out there with my buds. And it's not going to happen. You know, I really don't see it happening this year. And everybody's just got to accept that fact that it's another one of those years where we're just going to not get to do some things. You just got to hold on tight, stay home, and try to keep it all together. And that's what I'm going to be doing.
Mackenzie, you were wanted to jump in there?
Yeah, I think it's really, really important that if we go into another lockdown, that a lot of financial assistance comes, right? It's mandatory. Like, you can't tell people to stay home without paying them to stay home and paying their bills, because if they can't go to work, you know, that's huge. And we also need action on, you know, the drug poisoning crisis, because we saw more deaths from that in British Columbia than COVID. And it was exacerbated during COVID, right? So there's overlapping crises, you know, the climate crisis, housing affordability. Annemie Paul was saying, like, if this is dropping to $1,200 in July, that's not enough for rent. Like, you know, if you're not going to work and all you're getting is $1,200, that's the price of a 1-bedroom basement suite in this town, not even Toronto or Vancouver, that, like, in Prince George. So, you know, we really need to up that. And if we had a universal basic income, we could do another lockdown safely, because we're going to have to shovel a lot more money out with another type of CERB if we decide to do a lockdown, which is necessary. We have to. But I didn't see that in the budget, you know, like another planned how much money would go towards helping people stay home and pay their bills if we lock down again. So yeah, we just also need to look at all of the overlapping crises and housing affordability and how much we're paying people. And we're just going to have a lot more people in dire straits if we're not paying them enough with CERB and we're making them stay home and not work. And if we don't have paid sick leave, that is how you spread COVID, because people have to work to pay their bills, and they have a slight cough or a slight sniffle, they will stay at work because they have to pay their bills. But if they had paid sick leave, or we had universal basic income, we could avoid that.
Well, we got a comment from Nikki Waitman, who wants us to stop all the fear mongering, and she says that the odd old person dies. and the flus are different year over, and locking down doesn't do anything. I don't know if anybody wants to respond to that, but we will point out that this week we did have the first toddler, about 2 years old, die of COVID. So Chuck, you had your hand up.
My wife works in Jubilee Lodge, and yes, the old people died. Lots and lots of them died. And I have friends that are nurses and doctors, and it's a lot of other people dying too. You know, I'm 56 years old. I don't consider myself old, but people my age are dying all the time. People younger than me are dying every day. You know, and I'm a healthy dude. I am, you know, I'm a big, strong guy. I'm 6'4", 230 pounds. I feel fine, but I could be gone next week. You never know. It's that invasive. It gets everybody. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete. It doesn't matter if you're an old man sitting at home. It doesn't matter if you're a 2-year-old kid even. It gets everybody. So we're not fear mongering. We're talking about what's really happening. And if you're not seeing it, you need to start looking around, because it's there. It really is. And I have a wife who's been home for 3 months because she got it while she was at work, and she can't breathe, and she can't take the dog for a walk. She went for a walk with the dog yesterday, went about a block and a half, and nearly passed out. So it's real. It's very, very real. And if you don't understand that, it's going to come get you if you keep playing around.
Even
the
if it
people that
doesn't kill you.
The people that say these comments don't have any empathy, and we can't teach them empathy. It's something that is taught, and they will not change their minds no matter how many 2-year-olds we tell them that are dying from COVID. They think it's fake. So there's no, we shouldn't platform them and give them any attention, because that's what they want. So we should continue to the next topic, in my opinion.
It never hurts to address a conversation, though. And if someone's taken the time to send us their message, then I think we've taken the time to answer it. I don't consider us fear mongering either. I think what we're doing is sharing information. But I do agree with you, Mackenzie, giving that voice too much airtime is counterproductive.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I know with the PG Daily News and on the Facebook page, and I struggle all the time with comments that are posted, and whether to respond to them, ignore them, or delete them. And I find a lot of times I delete them. I'm getting worse, or I'm having less patience, and a lot of these comments show up, and I just delete them. I don't want to give people, and it's terrible because I've spent my whole life in the media industry where it's focused on allowing conversation and giving people a chance to speak through letters to the editor, through all kinds of things. And with where we are at now, it's like I have a lot of less patience. I've previously, in another life, I would have said, yeah, well, it's conversation. But now it's so it's so disruptive, and it's so dangerous for a lot of this stuff, and just giving people carte blanche. Sometimes, I don't have any problem with people who question the way things are going and what's going on, but to simply ignore the reality in front of you, I think is a different thing altogether. So that's my soapbox. We're getting up on time. We'll just go around the horn again and have a bit of free for all. What anybody's got on their mind that they want to share.
Well, if you happen to be out wandering around in Platelet Day Memorial Park towards this weekend, stick your head and have a look in the windows at the Exploration Place. I think we will have the babies on the living wall all up by the end of this week. So it's looking pretty cool, and all designed in town by locals. And it cost us 1/10 of what it would have cost us to have this done by some outside firm. So thank you to everybody that donated plant clippings. We're still on the hunt. So if you do have clippings or larger plants, you can get a hold of us at the museum at info@theexplorationplace.com. And otherwise, enjoy the park and some distance around you this weekend. The weather has been lovely.
Right on. Chuck, parting words.
I'm going to go with the environment in a way. I don't drive a Hummer. I do have a truck. It's going to be parked most of the summer because I'm on my motorbike. And so I won't be earning points towards my solar panel. But there's a lot of bikes out right now. And it's that time of year, everybody's just got to pay attention, please, because there's too many accidents every year. And when you're on a bike, you've got no safety belt, you've got no airbags, you've got nothing. It's just you coming in contact with steel and rubber, and that's not fun. So please, for my sake and everybody else's sake out on two wheels, please just pay attention. We really appreciate it. And have a great week, safe week.
Mackenzie, parting thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. So tomorrow is Earth Day. So there will be lots of posts all around on all social media about little things that you can do, but also big things that big emitters can do. Don't get tied up into the, I feel so guilty because I bought a Starbucks this week and, you know, I can't possibly save the environment because I drive a truck and I buy Starbucks, you know, and I think that we really need to be taking big action and calling for, you know, a green recovery and government officials that care about climate change and want to make it a priority. So that's one of the biggest things that we can do. And this weekend is speaking of Earth Day activities, this weekend is a spring garbage cleanup hosted by REAPS, the Recycling Environmental Planning Society downtown. So if you register a team, I know that the Hell Yeah Prince George group has a whole bunch of gift cards available for the teams that register. So if you register a team on the REAPS or City of PG website, you can check out on Facebook, they direct you to where you register. You can register a team of your core bubble up to 10 people, and they'll give you an area that you can clean up the city that isn't already claimed on Sunday from, I think, 9 to 3 or something like that. You can pick however long you want to go out, and they're supplying bags and gloves at REAPS that you can pick up this week. So I encourage everyone to get out on Sunday and drive carefully because there will be lots of people in the ditches picking up garbage all over the place. So make sure that you register a team and think about what you can do tomorrow for Earth Day, something little, and continue the conversation because it's not going to progress in the right direction if we aren't talking about it all the time. So.
Yeah, and I too drive a truck, but I do have a battery powered lawnmower. So hopefully if I fill up again, I can get another battery and I can keep going with my lawnmower. But yeah, just remind everybody to register to get vaccinated if you can. I registered through Northern Health, and the day they said I could schedule, I actually went into the pharmacy and got my vaccine. So, so either go to your pharmacy or register with Northern Health. Went online. It's really simple. It takes a couple minutes, and it's pretty slick process. So make sure you do it because the faster everybody is vaccinated, the faster we will be through all this. And I want to thank Chuck Nisbett, Tracy Calogheros, and Mackenzie Kerr, and Todd Corrigal, even though he's with us only for a couple seconds. And I hope they have internet back at the chamber pretty soon. And we will be back again next week. See everyone later.